Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Put.
Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome back to First Contact Radio. It's the end of the week, Friday, the 27th of May. 27th of May, our sun sign is in Gemini. Gemini represented in the tarot card by the Lovers. Gemini, all about communication with ourselves, communication with our higher self, communication with others. And communication in itself are relationships, because we have a relationship of sorts with the things that we communicate. So the whole idea is to understand what these are, and if we think about our communications as relationships, then we apply the choices that we make in such things. The moon sign is Aquarius. Aquarius is an air sign. So we have our mind working together with Aquarius and the mind, the air sign of Gemini. So we have a lot of air around us. The aspects we're looking at over the course of today, we have coming up, we have Mars is going to be energizing Scorpio. So that nature of ourselves, that watery aspect of ourselves that is hiding things buried down deep, it gets energized with creative force of Mars. So we'll see how that plays itself out. We have an aspect at 10:32 a.m. between Aquarius and Saturn, applying some focus, some discipline to the way in which we are working with the energies around us. Discipline, also thinking of the idea of harnessing the energy we have so that we can make more effective use of it. And then 1:44 p.m. we have a square between Aquarius and Mercury as well. So these are really interacting a lot today, and that's when we have the ideas of Aquarius and the choices of Gemini, the mental choices that we go through square off with each other, trying to find some peace and harmony. Remember, Aquarius is, we think of Aquarius, I always like to remember the age of Aquarius and the songs in the 60s and all the hopefulness of that time. Well, that's what I like to think of Aquarius, the futuristic moments, the hopefulness, where we're headed, all that positivity. And so when we think about Aquarius and that opportunity to move into that type of a hopeful future, we have to then look at our ideas of responsibility and the choices we make, because those affect where we're going. Everything affects everything. So if we want to get to a point where we're living in a world that is in a much more ordered state, then we ourselves have to put our thoughts in a much more ordered state so that we can get there. We have to have more responsibility with the choices we make so that we can have the results we want, so we can be in the world that we want to be in. Okay, a lot of interesting things, and as we go through the day, you'll see how some of this plays out, because I've got some stories and information that really ties into all of this today. All right, the moon sign for today, or the moon phase, 69.9% of the way full. New moon coming up on the 4th. So we are quickly making our way in that direction. We'll be at the 1/4 of the moon on Sunday. So just a week away from there, and we will be to that new moon, which is a week from this Saturday, a week from tomorrow. Jewish calendar 19 Liar is the day. Daily thought is conviction. All the elaborate proofs, all the philosophical machinations, none of that will ever stand you firmly on your feet. There's only one thing that can provide you strength, and that is your own inherent conviction. Because even as your own mind flounders, you yourself know the truth and you believe in that truth. It is a conviction all the winds of the earth cannot uproot that carried us to this point in time that has rendered us indestructible and timeless. For it comes from within and from the heritage of our ancestors who believed as well, back to the invincible conviction of our father Abraham, a man who took on the entire world. The doubts, the hesitations, the vacillations, all these come to you through the outside. Your challenge is to allow your inner knowledge to shine through and be your guide. Inside is boundless power. Again, nice good reminder. Got to go inside to be able to deal with the problems that are affecting us on the outside. Day 3 on the Dreamspell Oracle with the wave spell of the Earth. Today's the storm, gathering that energy, getting ready to utilize it. Our abundance, our dreams is our guide for today. Our hidden power is inspiration. The sun, enlightenment, is our like-minded energy, and our challenge is the purification. Phrase for today: I activate in order to catalyze bonding energy. I seal the matrix of self-generation. With the electric tone of service, I am guided by the power of abundance. Space weather: solar wind 411.5 kilometers per second. Planetary K index quiet at a 2. Quiet at a 2. Coronal hole, just a big one here, seems to be moving away as normal, though we will feel the effect, it says, on the 27th. Let's say, hey, that's today. M-class flare possibility is 5%. Geomagnetic X-class is at 1. Geomagnetic storm activity decreasing slightly, 25 to 15, the mid-latitudes, upper latitudes, 35 down to 20. And finally, looking up at the sky tonight, have you ever been watching the Mars, Antares, Saturn triangle change shape? It's lengthening as Mars moves westward against the stars away from the head of Scorpius. This will continue until the end of June. Then Mars will start to slingshot back to fly right between Antares and Saturn in late August. Plan to watch this slow summer drama. Jupiter's Great Red Spot transits Jupiter's central meridian tonight at 2:02 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. It's positioned an excellent view for an hour before and after. All right, so there you go. There's our cosmic weather for today. You know where that takes us? Right to the UFO news. Here we go.
This is the UFO news with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. Today, 4 good stories. Story number 1. Just processing 95% UFO over New Taipei City in Taiwan. This was the 26th. So as I was just closing the window, leaving work at 7:30 p.m. when I saw this red flashing light in the sky, having in one place. I've never seen it before. When I recorded it, the light looks white. It is big, cloudy, and there were no stars that could be seen when through the pollution of the sky. I recorded it for only a minute because that's all that I had was an iPhone 6, and I knew the video would not be so great due to the distance. I checked it again 7 minutes later. When I got home, the object was gone. All right, there's our object in question, a 3-minute video. Let's move on. Here we have a white triangle UFO shoots off with 2 rockets and missiles following. This happened over Las Vegas. Went back to last month, 22nd. There's our object in question and these apparent missiles. The UFO appears to be escorting 2 other UFOs or 2 rockets into space. I believe it's called sleight of hand, meaning make people look to the rocket so that they don't notice the UFO. The UFO is not a disk, but appears to be a triangle in shape, maybe the newest version of the TR-3B. going by a different name, of course. This is pure alien tech. There is in the middle of your screen, but it may be controlled by the USAF, United States Air Force. We need also consider that there's a base inside of Nellis Air Force Base behind the shooting range, which is inhabited by tall white aliens who also have white ships. This ship is white. Las Vegas, only 10-minute drive from Nellis Air Force Base. Interesting. Look at that. Very, very interesting. Okay, that's over Las Vegas. We have a TV News is asking the question, is this a UFO? This light here, nighttime light, raises questions in Dinwiddie County, Virginia. Right. Lights overhead in the McKinney night sky had residents scratching their heads, asking for answers. Some residents.
Caught on camera, viewer tells CBS 6
Hold on a second here.
something mysterious in the sky. So, our senior reporter Wayne Koval drove to McKinney, Virginia last night after a viewer told him the lights were
Alright, it says some residents even claimed it could be a flying saucer with life from another world. CBS 6 went out to McKinney to try to shed light on what could be flying overhead. The lights don't move, and there were no audible sounds that could indicate an engine running. While the object may stay unidentified for now, CBS Chief Meteorologist Zach Daniel had a couple of guesses what it could be. He says lights most likely are coming from satellites or perhaps another planet visible in the sky. So check that out, see what you think. And finally, here's a story that talks about sightings in Arizona. It says the 5 most infamous alien encounters in the state. So flying saucers in Phoenix skies, a legendary alien abduction, perhaps the largest reported mass UFO sighting of all time. In cases you haven't heard, Arizona is a popular tourist destination for intergalactic visitors. Why? It seems like only last month a Sky Harbor airport employee spotted a massive V-shaped object hovering off the ground, light emanating from the bottom. Wait, that was only last month? The state consistently ranks among the top areas for reported UFO sightings. In fact, there have been more than 3,000 recorded UFO sightings in Arizona since 1950, according to Davenport, Washington-based National UFO Reporting Center. And it hasn't just been widely reported. 199 mass sightings of the so-called Phoenix Lights. Historically, some of the strangest unexplained alien encounters occurred right there in Arizona. Arizona's always been a hotbed for UFOs, and the Phoenix Lights really prove it, says UFO hunter Jeff Willis, who runs the website UFOphoenix.com. Willis calls himself the original UFO hunter. Since 1993, the shaggy-haired 43-year-old landscaper has been observing Phoenix skies for hours a day in search of photographic evidence of unidentified flying objects and proof of alien activity. Consultation with Willis and other UFO enthusiasts, New Times had compiled the top 5 alien encounters of Arizona. So we have 1947, the Rhodes disc photos. July 1947, a 30-year-old Arizona man took one of the first and most famous photos of flying saucers in the skies over Phoenix. It was almost 4 in the afternoon when William Rhodes stepped out of the back door of his Phoenix workshop after a summer thunderstorm. The sound of the approaching jet caught his attention, but when he looked to the sky, he saw nothing. Seconds later, an elliptical gray disk appeared, hovering slightly above the horizon towards the northeast. Rhodes later estimated to be 20 to 30 feet in diameter, with a cockpit and a tail. The object hung around 5,000 feet above the ground before suddenly spiraling downward. Also in 1947, the Dreamy Draw UFO crash. The year 1947 was huge for extraterrestrial activity. Not only did the granddaddy of all reported UFO crashes occur in Roswell, New Mexico in July of that year, but a few months later, Phoenix was the site of a purported UFO crash. In October 1947, 36-foot spacecraft is said to have been hurled itself into the sand-strewn mesa of Dreamy Draw, a desert park next to Pearsall Park Peak just south of Highway 51. According to published accounts, the vessel came to rest at the base of Squaw Peak. mountains adjacent to downtown Phoenix. 1952, the Marana Air Base sighting. While waiting for radio transmission for one of its students, a pilot instructor at the U.S. Air Force bases, Marana, now Perennial Air Park, northwest of Tucson, noticed a bright star in the morning sky about 7:45 a.m., April 3, 1952. The instructor didn't say anything about it, but soon two of his colleagues also pointed out the unusual mass hovering in place. According to published reports, another pilot took off from the base in a plane to get a better look at the strange metallic object. 45 minutes after, the instructor noticed a UFO had vanished. It was real bright and shone like polished aluminum. I've been flying for 25 years. I've never seen anything like it, he said at the time. Travis Walton from 1975. You certainly heard about this case. Retired Arizona logger Travis Walton had spent the past 40 years haunted by the skepticism and publicity that surrounds one of the best-known alien abduction stories in history. November 5th, 1975, while working with a logging crew, the 22-year-old Walton noticed a metallic golden disc hanging in the sky 15 feet above the tangled pile of logs in a dense forest area in northern Arizona near Snowflake. Walton approached the disc, which began to wobble from side to side. Suddenly, a blue-green light emanated from the craft, striking Walton and lifting his body in the air. His terrified colleagues who witnessed the abduction drove off in a pickup truck. For 5 days, Walton was missing, spurring a nationally publicized manhunt. When he reappeared naked and disoriented, he told a chilling tale of spaceship and silent, big-eyed extraterrestrials. And then the last of these 5 is the Phoenix Lights, which happened in 1997. The most Arizonans know an otherworldly event that elevated Phoenix prominence in the annals of UFO lore is the Phoenix Lights, one of the biggest mass UFO sightings of all time. March 13, 1997, a string of glowing orbs hovered over Paradise Valley skies. For 3 hours, the huge V-shaped formation passed silently over a 300-mile corridor from the Nevada line through Phoenix to the southern edge of Tucson. The lights were witnessed by thousands and photographed by hundreds who'd been watching the skies that night to catch a glimpse of a passing comet. The military later claimed the wedge of lights was nothing more than flares dropped over the valley during the training session. But witnesses, including then Arizona Governor J. 5 Symington III, were convinced that they saw otherworldly craft. It couldn't have been flares because it was too symmetrical, Symington would tell Prescott Daily Courier reporter Leslie Keene. Years later, it had a geometric outline, a constant shape. All right, so there you go. There's our 5 good stories from Arizona. We've got some really good information coming up. Stay tuned. I'll be back.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People shouldn't be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw a UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
All right. So, a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world these days, huh? Doesn't it seems like we've slipped into some other dimension at times when we see all the weirdness going on, with all of these agendas that are being pushed and these crazy events. It kind of makes you wonder how we got here. How did we get to this place? Well, I'm going to bring up some information today to discuss some possibilities that are pretty far out there. But this isn't the first time that we've discussed anything on this show that is pretty far out there. It's pretty much a daily occurrence. So, in the past, I've talked about CERN, the Hadron Collider, the project that is out there in Switzerland, which is attempting, as they say, to recreate the Big Bang, to recreate an incident that we have been taught to believe created all of the universe. So they're going to do this in this lab. Well, what kind of results are they going to have from that? There's been a lot of speculation. There's been a lot of ideas and speculation that these same type of experiments that are being done now were also being done during Atlantean times, and that it was one of the things that led to part of the collapse of that civilization. So have we come to a point in time where we're repeating history? I'm going to present you some information and you decide what you think about this situation. First thing I want to bring you to is this article here. It says the LHC Large Hadron Collider's new goal: touch parallel universe and create mini black holes. It's from message2eagle.com. It says researchers working at the Large Hadron Collider Atom Smasher at CERN Center in Geneva, Switzerland, hope to achieve something really extraordinary. In an experiment proposal that sounds more like an evil genius plan than a reputable science endeavor, CERN's Large Hadron Collider Atom Smasher in Geneva, Switzerland will be cranked up to the highest energy levels ever as scientists hope to detect or create miniature black holes. You can see how large this machine is because here's a person right here. If successful, scientists hope that the experiment might uncover extra dimensions hidden in our universe. It says normally when people think of the multi-universe, they think of the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics whose every possibility is actualized. This cannot be text, and so it is a philosophy and not a science. It is not what we mean by parallel. This cannot be tested, and so it is a philosophy, not a science. This is not what we mean by parallel universes. What we mean is real universes in extra dimensions. Some of you might remember in how 2008, before the Large Hadron Collider's power supply was turned on, the end of the worlders were picking up steam themselves, trying to shut the collider down, going as far as filing a lawsuit against CERN with the European Court of Human Rights that argued such a scenario would violate the right to life of European citizens and pose a threat to the rule of law. They were worried that our planet would be consumed by a miniature black hole inadvertently created by CERN's researchers. Okay, so very important. There's been concern for a while since it's been going on. At CERN, they've been looking for, first they started looking for the God particle, and they're looking to try and find out what is this essence behind all things. What is this essence of matter that glues all things together here in this physical reality? So here's another article. Scientists may have discovered nature's fifth force, dark photons. Researchers in Hungary have discovered what they think may be a fifth force of nature, which could be the vital clue to understanding dark matter. There are currently 4 identified forces of nature: gravitational, electromagnetic, strong nuclear, and weak nuclear, but they do not interact with each other in ways that can be explained by the current mathematic model of the universe. So scientists have been looking for evidence of a fifth force which would go some way to explaining the discrepancy. Scientists at the Hungarian Academy for Science Institute for Nuclear Research were looking for evidence of dark photons, reports which they surmised could carry and therefore explain dark matter. They had been shooting photons at a strip of lithium, and in doing so created an unexpectedly high number of subatomic particles. They think this anomaly in radioactive decay could be the result of an entirely new particle, which may suggest the presence of a fifth force. Geraint Lewis, a professor of astrophysics at the University of Sydney, said this could explain discrepancies in the way the four previously known forces interacted. What we have at the moment is what is known as the standard model of particle physics, and this is a mathematical description of the way the universe works. The particle model works really well to describe and explain three of the fundamental forces: electromagnetic, strong, nuclear, and weak. But what we also know is that the forces don't play well with gravity. Gravity is described by a completely different set of mathematics, and people tried for almost 100 years to make these forces work together. Well, so what they're saying is they can't really prove gravity. They have problems with the theory of gravity. Guess what? So does anybody who's been researching and looking at the flat Earth model, realizing that gravity itself is not something that seems to be inherent there. Gravity seems to be that magic force that has been made up to get people to believe we live on a ball spinning 1,000 miles an hour and the water just clings to it. Well, how does that happen? Gravity. What is gravity? Well, it's magic. We're not supposed to know. It's just there. But according to what they're saying, they have problems with it. They're not able, there's discrepancies in the gravitational understanding. So, again, science is catching up what people seem to intuitively understand when they really look at the big picture. China wants to create their own supercollider. They want to make theirs twice as big, twice as large. Chinese scientists are forging ahead with plans to build the world's largest supercollider as part of a broader effort to brand the country as the leader in theoretical and practical science. The enormous machine, which was first floated shortly after the Swiss-based Large Hadron Collider proved the existence of the Higgs boson particle in 2012, is currently in the planning stages, with construction expected to start in 2021, according to state media reports. The project will require $6 billion in investment, a significant sum in the age where belt tightening from developed nations the world over has resulted in a trend for less government-sponsored investment in scientific endeavors. Okay. Moving on from there, this is looking at the idea of time travel. This is just something currently said to do. A time traveler from the future go back 250 years with an iPhone and get painted in the process. Apple boss says iPhone and 350-year-old painting is evidence. So here we have this painting, old painting, and we see the woman in here is holding a device in her hands, which upon close-up it looks like this. Looks like a smartphone type device, doesn't it? So I don't know what it is, but it certainly looks like that. Speculation is abounding. If you Google time travel pictures, you'll find a variety of pictures, not just of this, but of other instances where people seem to capture time travelers moving through the various different pictures at different times. So it's quite interesting because there's pictures back there where you see, characters holding what appears to be cell phones, objects that weren't at that time, and they're moving around the crowd, and they stand out when you notice them, but they're usually dressed like the others, so they really don't, stand out that much. But then you see them with the phone or with some object, and just do a Google search. You'll be surprised at what you see there. You'll find a lot of time traveling ideas. Now, one of the things that go along with this whole idea of time traveling for us and how it relates is the idea of this second Earth. The second Earth. And the idea of a second Earth comes to us from the book of Revelation 21. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, "Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them and be their God. And God shall wipe away all the tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow, nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away." Okay, so we're talking about a new reality here, a new world, a new reality. And in more recent times, here's a video. It's just shy of 2 hours. I want you to take some time out to watch this video. It's Dolores Cannon presents Moving into the New Earth. And Dolores Cannon has talked about this New Earth idea for some time. She's talked about the concept of 3 different groups of souls, of volunteer souls who came down to Earth to assist Earth with the process of change that we are going through in a transition. And this transition involves us moving to a new Earth. So it's like there's a splitting, as she describes it, of this Earth. One version here, one version here, and now we have the opportunity to decide where we're going to go. Which version of reality are we going to be in? And that's determined by where we're going to go with our thoughts. We have a lot of discrepancies going on here and a lot of division. If indeed there is somebody behind the scenes that understand this is going on, and they understand that we will get directed according to our thoughts, then it's very important that we are aware of what it is we're thinking so that we know the direction we're going. Which world are we being put upon? Is this the separating of the wheat from the chaff? I don't know. Seems to be some strange things going on that indicate something like this could be happening. So this brings me now into, we've kind of caught up with some things so I can introduce this new idea that ties right in with all of this new Earth, the Hadron Collider, the ideas of time travel. It's called the Mandela effect. And I've just recently been learning about this. And what I find is quite fascinating. Quite fascinating indeed. I don't have an explanation for it. It's just something at this moment to observe and see what this is all about. It says, welcome. The website is the project of Fiona Broom. Since 2010, it's been an online journal about real alternative realities that people may visit every day but not realize it. What is it? The Mandela effect is what happens when somebody has a clear memory of something that has never really happened in this reality. Many of us, mostly total strangers, remember the exact events, the exact same details. However, our memories are different from what's in history books, newspaper archives, and so on. This isn't a conspiracy, and we're not talking about false memories. Many of us speculate that parallel realities exist, and we've been sliding between them without realizing it. Others favor the idea that we each enjoy a holodeck experience, possibly with some programming glitches. In my opinion, these aren't mutually exclusive. This website is about alternative history and explanations for this phenomena. All right, we have a little history here and so on. So that gives you the brief of what this Mandela effect is. Basically, it's an idea that, and it seems to stem from Nelson Mandela, because there was stories in the past that Nelson Mandela had died. There are a lot of people who remember the stories of Nelson Mandela dying in prison. But then we have the stories that we're more aware of where he's now out of prison and he's alive. But people have these memories, and people can go back and find stories about this, and they wonder, how is it that he's alive now when there's stories saying that he died in the past? What were those stories there about? And so people have been questioning that, and from time to time you'll notice, and you may have asked yourself that, you'll see the name of somebody who died, a celebrity, maybe someone who's lesser known and not a celebrity type, but just somebody that you've heard that passed on, and then years later you hear that they're still alive, or you hear that they died again, and you think to yourself, I thought that person had already died years ago. So there seems to be a lot more of this happening these days. People having experiences with events that they don't remember happening. So people are paying attention to this and trying to understand, is this something that is real? Have we been affected by something like the Hadron Collider where we've stepped into another reality? Here's another article here. This one is called The Mandela Effect, More Proof of Parallel Universes. As a follow-up to my post on the Bernstein Bears problem, I thought this was worth sharing. Yesterday I found myself over at subreddit reading Glitch in the Matrix, and wouldn't you know, at the top poster there something called the Mandela Effect. This is the apparent name for the phenomena like the Bernstein Bears problem, in which we remember something contrary to reality. Exploring it further, I found that the name, coined by Fiona Broome, stems from the absurd number of people who seem to remember that Nelson Mandela died in prison in the 80s and not at his home in Johannesburg in 2013. In fact, there's even a subreddit dedicated to this kind of stuff at Mandela Effect, and you can read Broome's own website in the subject, mandelaeffect.com. Other examples include the portrait missing from the universe of Henry VIII, in which he's holding a turkey leg, New Zealand being in a different location, and perhaps strangest of all, chartreuse being something other than yellow-green. You can check out our full list of anomalies here. Okay, let me just open this. We'll take a quick look at that. However, the problem with something like the Mandela effect is this. Just because you hear something or even see something, that doesn't mean it's true. Sometimes we read something incorrectly or experience false memories. Sometimes we're told, even well by the news media, that's incorrect. We assume it's true because not, and we go about our business. Then we find out later that the Nelson Mandela had recently died, or New Zealand is in a different location on the map, or that the Bernstein Bears are actually the Bernstein Bears. This information clashes with what we thought we knew, and if enough people are misinformed about the same topic, I imagine that's we run into the so-called Mandela effect. In other words, it's a roundabout way of saying sometimes we're wrong. But that's a boring way to look at things, isn't it? And as I said before, this is an interesting phenomenon, regardless of whether you want to ascribe it to parallel universes or false memories. The brain is a tricky thing, and the universe is trickier. So you can go over to check out the website. And let's take a look at this list here. Here's just some of the lists. Okay, these are popular alternative memories from the Bernstein Bears. This is one. People, recall the name Bernstein Bears always being S-T-E-I-N, but more recently it seems to be S-T-A-I-N, which has people wondering where did the change occur. People have recall of Billy Graham's funeral. He's still on. Got anomalies with the space shuttle exploration. Curious George, tail or no tail. The portrait of Henry VIII with the turkey leg. Many people clearly recall seeing it in the history books. There's no record of it now. Jif peanut butter was never called Jiffy in this time stream. Lindbergh baby never found in this time stream. The 20-month baby was found May 12th. Okay, so interesting anomalies, interesting things to look at. Very, very interesting. I don't know what to make of it, but I've watched a number of things that really have gotten my attention. Like I saw one all about the Brady Bunch and this Brady Bunch Variety Hour. I don't ever remember a Brady Bunch Variety Hour, do you? I remember the Brady Bunch show. I remember as they got older, there was a couple of specials here and there where they would, go, on a particular trip, like an hour-long special. But I don't remember the Brady Bunch Variety Hour. Yet apparently there is one, and people are showing this and wondering where this came from because it's not part of their Brady Bunch experience. Maybe it was exactly the way it was, and maybe we're just not remembering things. There's other strange effects that go on. Biblical phrases. I'm familiar with the phrase, do not put new wine in old wineskins. I think you're all familiar with that phrase. We've heard it over and over, and yet for some reason, looking in the Bible in the particular chapter there, it doesn't say wineskins. It uses the phrase bottles. Do not put new wine in old bottles. And that's kind of strange because I don't recall bottles at any time, and I recall that passage quite well. There's a number of other examples where there seems to be some change or discrepancy in biblical verses from what people remember them being. So it could all be just strange coincidence, but it could be something more than that that we should pay attention to. And considering that we have an experiment that's going on, CERN, that seems to be affecting quite a bit and is actually working at and poking at the fabric of reality, you know, I think it's within the realm of possibility to consider something. Remember the TV show Sliders? And they would slide into a reality, and the world might be 98% of the way that the other world was, just that small 2% difference. Could be something as subtle as that. You know, scientists are messing around to figure these things out. They don't know what they're doing. They're just poking around. They have this idea of what they want to do, but I don't think they truly understand. And I think they're just experimenting and finding and having results that maybe are different than what they thought. So we need to pay attention, and the only way we can pay attention is to observe the world around us and see if we notice any anomalies. I mean, haven't you, during these times with all of these agendas being passed, asked yourself, how did we get here? How did we get here so fast that we have such this strange agenda being pushed all around? You know, it's just bizarre. I have a couple of videos here. These are just a tip of the iceberg of what's available. This gives you an idea of some of the concerns that people have and some of the things people are seeing. Here's one. It's a 12-minute, 30-second video. Supernatural changes in your home in the Bible, in which this YouTube user, Bonnie Lou, will describe some of these that she's experienced. She describes the Bernstein Bear. She goes over this Bible passage I talked about and a variety of others. So you can see something is taking place. Something's taking place. And here's another one. This one's a bit longer of a video. This one's just 39 minutes. It says the Mandela effect, why CERN holds the key, and what you aren't supposed to know. So again, watch this one. Remember, these are just tip of the iceberg. Use these simply as a launching pad to understand what this anomaly is. It might be nothing, might be absolutely nothing at all. But there's a possibility it could be something. And if it's something, then the question is this real? Have we actually slipped into another timeline? Are we moving a little differently than we were? Or is there somebody part of the powers that be? Are they playing a joke on everybody, and have they made changes into the historical record in order to throw people off, to have people thinking that there is some sort of change that occurred that maybe really didn't? I don't know. Just something to observe, and it's the only way we're going to be able to understand. Just remember the words of Jesus, do not be deceived. You don't want to be deceived, yet we are living in a time, in a reality, where deception has been part of the reality. We have the story of Yaldabaoth, who is the fallen one that, according to the stories out of the Nag Hammadi text, via the words of Jesus Christ, or that Yaldabaoth was the fallen one who then manipulated this reality and created and manipulated humankind in order to trap God. Therein is the deception that has occurred from the beginning. So it's quite possible, if that story is accurate, if we are to trust the words of Jesus, then we need to really be on guard, because from the beginning of what we know, at least from the biblical story, there's been a deception in place, and the one who has been involved creating things hasn't necessarily been the be all end all God, but one of the fallen ones. Now, all things have occurred under the watchful eye of Father God, Mother God, paying attention, watching everything. So there's some degree of this is being allowed to happen because of the benefits that are going to come out of this. The good obviously outweighs the bad. We are just stuck here in this material realm, and in this material realm, we are subject to different laws of nature that are different than we are in the non-material realms. We have duality that we deal with, that we go back and forth from one extreme to the other, as opposed to just walking that middle path of balance. And so that's part of the idea of this world. Maybe it is to find that place in balance. Maybe that's why there are so many challenges with this physical reality, because it gives us the opportunity to step out and be even bigger and better than what we are at the moment. So there's a plan to all of this. I do not deny that whatsoever. I know that there's a creative spirit out there, God, the Mother, Father, the Christ energy that's out there emanating through all things. I know that this reality is one of but many realities, and one simple vibration of energy, that we are experiencing the physical reality that we know of as Earth, but we have the fire, the water, the air that precedes that, with spirit preceding all of these things. So lots of possibilities exist, but we have to observe. We have to observe, and we need to observe without judgment. See, we've gotten ourselves in a bad place right now where we are judgmental about everything, or we accuse others of being judgmental, when what we need to do is we need to be observant, and we need to be able to report what we observe without being concerned that when we report what we observe, that somebody interested instantly is going to criticize us for being judgmental and label our observations as something other than an observation, because that really throws us off track. If we lose the ability to observe what is going on and then assess what it is we need to do to adjust in the process of our evaluation so that we can move forward, if we lose that objective ability to observe, then we've got a real problem, because then we're just moving through blindly with somebody telling us where to go and what to do, and that's not really the case. We're supposed to work together co-creatively with spirit, to co-creatively work together in teamwork, and part of that involves observing what's going on, observing how that creative spirit is working with us so that we can work with it. We need to work together and understand this physical body is the physical body that perhaps was created by a being that was really trying to trap God. But in the end, God has flipped the script, because when Jesus came to show you can't trap God. You can't trap God in this body. You can't do that at all. And everything about that mission was to show us that we are immortal beings, and all we have to do is step out of this mortal realm, this mortal coil that we're in, this mortal form, and we reconnect instantly with that immortality. As a matter of fact, we find out that we were never disconnected with it. We only thought that we were. Again, it brings us all back to observation, because by observing the world that we're in, we get to understand where we're at and then make choices on how we get there. See, if we observe better and we are aware of what's going on, we'll have better information. With better information, we'll make better choices, which is all part of this mix. Making better choices lead to better results. Better results lead to us living in the reality we choose to live in, where everything is smooth and good and working harmoniously. So, again, it all comes back to us and the choices we make. All right, here's our daily message for today. This was the latest from Archangel Gabriel.
Archangel Gabriel daily message / Thursday, May 26th, 2016 by Shelley Young. If you have been denying yourself and your needs for a very long time, there will come a point where it becomes impossible to do so any longer. Your soul, lovingly, will create some kind of catalyst that will insist that you must start to consider self. It may be in the form of an illness, the loss of a job, the upheaval of a love relationship, or simply such a deep discomfort that it becomes impossible to continue on the same way. Dear ones, whoever said that unity consciousness and unconditional love were to be applied to everyone but you? What a great disservice you have been doing to yourself to deny your needs, your truth, your preferences, your passions, your beautiful authenticity. What a huge disservice to humanity to be purposely denying the whole of the delightful glory of who you really are. It is time to give the love, care, and encouragement you give to others and include yourself in that tender consideration. To do so is to create balance and unity, to heal the wounds of abandonment and separation, and to thrive in new ways that beautifully honor all. Tilda Archangel Gabriel.
Okay. Very good, very good. So, that brings us to our meditation for today. Go ahead and close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And exhale. Take another breath. Exhale again. And another breath. And exhale. And let your breathing just happen. And allow yourself to observe yourself breathing in and out. And as you breathe in and out and observe yourself in this manner, step back a little bit and see the bigger picture and see how our movement, our breath, our connection is connecting us to something even bigger than we are. And that we are moving in synchronicity with that energy that in turn breathes in and out. And as we observe the world around us, we see a world that is moving in a way that is not necessarily moving in the same way as man-made. We see nature and man-made things working together, in some ways peacefully and harmoniously, in other ways not so much. And we observe people in the way that they are interacting, some getting along, some not so well. And as we move through the world observing all that we see without judgment, we're able to process the information and put together the answers and the reasons so we can understand more of what is taking place, what's going on. Heavenly Father and Heavenly Mother, thank you for the blessings of this day. Thank you for the opportunity to see the world for what it is, to understand the reality that is unfolding before our eyes. We pray that we understand even more our purpose and how we fit into the changes that are taking place within this reality. We pray that we're able to remove the distractions that get in our way, and we may fully embrace the light of the Christ that shines through each and every one of us, that we might shine this light outward into the world and connect with all of those who are doing exactly the same thing. So let's imagine ourselves looking at the world, seeing those who are connecting with that spirit of Christ that flows through them. And let's just imagine one by one connecting with each individual, shining the light. And as the individuals connect, the light shines brighter and the darkness dissipates. And so let us just hold this vision in our mind's eye of this expansive light, this light that is changing the reality of the world we live in, this light which is washing away the darkness and bringing the truthfulness into our very presence. So let the subconscious mind continue on the journey of observation as we go into the world this weekend, observing without judgment, so that we may understand what is taking place around us. And let's bring the conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3 coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2 coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1 coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale. And open your eyes. All right, my friends, that is it for today. That's it for the week. Lots of information to check out, everything from the flat earth to the Mandela effect and everything in between. So lots to check out. If you haven't had an opportunity, go back, check out the videos. I'm continuing to add videos to the flat earth playlist, so the link's available at firstcontactradio.com, or if you have it bookmarked, just keep going back there every couple days and check, because I'm adding more to it. I'm adding other playlists in there of information. You know, this is stuff for us to observe and to learn and to be aware of. The world is changing, reality's changing, and we need to really be observing what is going on. Over and over again, we're told that we need not to be deceived, that we need to pay attention. And if we were to look at these apocryphal books that we have, they seem to be acting as a script, a playbook that is unfolding before our eyes. So either we can be oblivious to these changes and just have them happening to us, or we could be more observant and participate in the changes that are going on. That way we are co-creating, co-operating with those changes. Makes all the difference in the world on which way we're going to go. Either way, we're going to go and deal with it the way that we need to deal with it. We're all here at a particular purpose, for a particular purpose, at a particular place in our own evolution and understanding. So I don't think it's a rush. I think we're all going to get where we need to get. But for those who are paying attention and need to step up, now might be that time to do so. So enjoy your weekend, my friends. Have a lot of fun. It's Memorial Weekend. Enjoy each other's company. I love you. Keep loving each other. And I'll talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.